I spent $50,000 on my wedding, and I canceled it the moment I walked down the aisle because I saw my fiancé kissing my maid of honor behind the flower arch. Everyone thinks I found out later. They are wrong. I found out in front of 200 guests, and what I did next is the reason my ex-husband still cannot show his face at family gatherings. My name does not matter for this story. What matters is that I am the kind of person who reads every contract before I sign it. That habit saved me. I met Daniel when I was 26. He was charming, ambitious, and always said the right thing at the right time. My best friend since middle school, Ashley, was the one who told me he was a keeper. She helped me pick my dress. She planned my bachelorette party. She stood beside me every single step of the way, which should have been my first clue, because people who are hiding something often work the hardest to look loyal. We got engaged after 2 years. Daniel wanted a big wedding, bigger than I ever asked for. Looking back, I think he wanted the spectacle more than he wanted me. His parents were paying for half of it, and they made sure everyone in 3 counties knew it. I hired a wedding planner who insisted on ironclad vendor contracts, because apparently rich families sometimes try to get out of paying after the fact. I did not think much of it. I signed everything, including a clause that let me, and only me, cancel any part of the event without financial penalty if certain conditions were met before the ceremony began. My planner called it a protection clause. I called it boring paperwork. I had no idea it would become the most useful thing I ever signed. The morning of the wedding, I felt something was off. Daniel would not look me in the eye during the rehearsal dinner the night before. Ashley kept checking her phone and stepping outside to take calls. I told myself it was wedding stress. Brides always say that to themselves right before their whole world falls apart. I was walking toward the ceremony space early, before guests arrived, to check on the flower arch myself, because I am the kind of person who trusts nothing until she sees it with her own eyes. That is when I heard whispering behind the white flowers. I heard Daniel's voice telling Ashley that after the wedding, things could go back to how they were before, quietly, carefully. Nobody would ever know. I stepped around the arch and saw them kissing. I did not scream. I did not cry, not yet. I stood there for what felt like 10 minutes, but was probably 10 seconds, and something in me went completely cold and completely clear at the same time. Daniel turned white. Ashley started talking fast, saying it was a mistake, saying it meant nothing, saying all the things people say when they are caught and desperate. I walked away without a single word. Guests were already arriving. My mother found me in the bridal suite and asked why I looked like that. I told her what I saw. She wanted to cancel everything immediately and send everyone home. I told her no. I told her to trust me and give me 20 minutes. Here is where the contracts came in. My planner had built in that protection clause specifically for a case like this: financial infidelity, personal betrayal, anything that gave me the legal right to halt the event without losing our deposits or owing penalty fees, as long as I formally invoked it before the ceremony officially began. Daniel's family had signed the same document because his mother wanted a clause that protected their money too if I ever backed out. She never imagined it would protect me from her own son. I called my planner. She confirmed the clause was still active because the ceremony had not started. I told her exactly what I wanted to do, and she said, with a small laugh in her voice, that she had been waiting 5 years for a bride to actually use this the right way. The plan was simple. I would follow every single procedure in the contract to the letter. Nothing illegal, nothing dramatic, nothing that could be called an overreaction. Just pure, exact compliance with the rules his own family had insisted on. The guests took their seats. The string quartet began playing. Daniel stood at the altar in his tuxedo, sweating, glancing at the entrance every few seconds, probably praying I would still walk down that aisle and pretend nothing happened. I walked down the aisle. Every eye in that venue was on me. My father squeezed my arm and asked one more time if I was sure. I told him I had never been more sure of anything in my life. I reached the altar. The officiant opened his book. I raised my hand and asked for one moment before we began, which every bride is technically allowed to do under most ceremony formats. Then I turned to face the crowd instead of Daniel. I told everyone calmly and clearly that under the terms of the event contract signed by both families, I was formally invoking the protection clause to halt the ceremony before its official start. Due to a breach of trust discovered this morning between the groom and the maid of honor, I said it exactly the way my planner coached me, using the precise legal language from the document, because precise language cannot be argued with in front of 200 witnesses, and a videographer who was already recording everything for the ceremony highlight reel. Daniel's mother stood up screaming that I could not do this. I calmly reminded her that she was the one who insisted on that exact clause, in that exact wording, during our contract meeting 8 months earlier, and that her signature was right next to mine on page 4. She had wanted protection for her family. She got exactly what she paid for. Because the ceremony had not officially started, every vendor was legally bound to honor my cancellation without penalty. The caterer stopped setting up the reception hall. The band packed up before playing a single note. The venue refunded the full balance within the week because the contract was airtight, written by lawyers who clearly knew people sometimes need an exit ramp at the worst possible moment. Daniel stood at that altar in front of everyone he had ever wanted to impress, and he had nothing to say, because there was nothing to say. His own mother's contract had just destroyed him in front of his entire extended family, his coworkers, and his childhood friends, all because he could not keep his hands off my maid of honor for even one more day. Ashley left through a side door before anyone could confront her directly. I heard later that she moved out of state within 2 months. Daniel tried calling me for weeks. His mother tried calling me too, first with apologies, then with anger, as if I was the villain for reading the fine print she had demanded. I never answered either of them. The wedding planner sent me a card a few weeks later that said something like, "In 11 years of doing this job, she had never seen a bride execute a breakup with that much precision, and that she hoped I knew how proud she was of me for staying calm enough to follow the rules perfectly when everyone expected me to fall apart." I kept the dress, not out of sentiment. I kept it because every time I look at it, I remember that the same people who tried to protect their own money accidentally protected me from spending the rest of my life with a man who never deserved $50,000, 200 guests, or one more second of my time.